Hey everybody, welcome to eChannel News again. We've got the gentleman Chris Roeckl from AppDome. He's a chief product officer, and they do a lot of stuff, obviously, in cybersecurity, particularly with devices of like mobile devices and getting hit by all kinds of spam, deep fake stuff that's coming down to kill all of us and all that stuff. So let's hear what he has to say. Chris, welcome. How are you doing?
Well, with an introduction like that, where do we go, right? Where do we start? I'm doing very well, thank you, and thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
So let's put the 10 mile high picture again for everybody. So you're working in this area to help stop people from getting phished, right, at the end of the day. And the challenge is, of course, as we humans are only as smart as so much, or
Yeah.
we get frustrated, right? We get tired and we make mistakes, right? So if you rely on humans as your first line of defense, good luck with that. And but you
Yeah.
do need to have some bit of machine AI type learning to sort of like help them, to not click on stuff and do crazy things, right? But so tell me specifically what you do in this area.
Yeah, so AppDome is a product that provides our customers mobile app security solutions, and what we're here to talk about today is specifically a bot defense. Now, mobile bots have been around for a long time, and they've existed in the web world. If you remember, they came from the very beginnings of what were called sneaker bots, and
Mhm.
these were bots that were set up to get all of the latest kind of Nike shoes, or sneakers, sorry, as they were coming on the market. So people created bots in order to overrun these systems so that they could get their orders in and get their fancy sneakers and sell them for a ton of profit.
And they're still doing it
This,
with Taylor Swift, aren't they? I don't know, just
I think so. Yeah,
uh,
yeah, and yeah,
version
poor
2.0 or 3.0, I don't know.
right.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
poor Ticketmaster. And so this has continued into the mobile space, and it has gotten more diverse, right? So whether it's loyalty programs or even financial services companies now are all subject to mobile bot attacks, um, using mobile apps, right? So bad actors will set up basically um, a a whole set of mobile devices, point them at back end services that are used by retailers or again financial services or loyalty companies, and attack the back end and try to penetrate those networks so that they can gain access to points, take over people's accounts, etc. It's a pretty it's a nasty attack because it does compromise the back end. And what mobile app developers are starting to realize, and what the world of cyber should realize, is that the information about the back end systems is in the mobile app. That data has to be in the mobile app. So in order to protect themselves, um, mobile app developers need to secure that information to make sure that people can't get a hold of it and launch those types of attacks.
So let's peel back that onion a bit more. So
Mm-hmm.
of course all these loyalty programs, like I mean, it's just like waiting there, all right. And who checks their loyalty program like every day? Usually it's like once every quarter. Maybe you check your points or something. But it's lots of challenges. I'm assuming that, are they stealing the points, or are they just infiltrating to get an identity?
It's all of the above, right?
Okay.
So actually, you can monetize points on the black market, right? So you can effectively take points and then monetize those points by selling them within a marketplace, as well as actually getting into a specific human's account. And again, it could be either to take those loyalty points, convert them to cash or something like that, but also again, do keep in mind that our financial services companies, banks, savings and loans, et cetera, are also subject to these attacks. And of course, there, right, we're switching from loyalty points to cold
To
hard cash,
money.
right? So account takeovers, gaining access to the back end of the system so that they can do far more insidious work, right, to compromise across multiple accounts. But in both cases, yeah, there's a compromise of the whatever the value of the thing is, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's a point or an actual dollar bill.
So in the spectrum of craziness, the point stuff is a little bit okay. It's a bad move, but I'm not going to die from it. To your bank account getting compromised and they're emptying the account, right? That's
Yeah,
pretty bad.
yeah,
Give me a scenario. So the bad actors are in there. They're hitting some financial institutions back end. They get in, right? What are they doing? They're sitting around just gathering information, or they're like, give me this, give me this, give me this. What does it look like, and what can they do?
yeah. So these types of attacks are quiet, right? So there's usually some sort of interaction, right, with the back end system, and just to take a small step back, right, the vendor community, right, the makers of security stuff like AppDome have created things called web application firewalls, and the web application firewall is all about stopping these types of attacks via the web, right?
Mhm.
So the technology is in place to at a web level to provide pretty adequate protection from these types of attacks. Web environments are very uniform, so these web application, the WAFs or web application firewalls, do pretty well to protect those environments. The challenge is in mobile, right? So mobile similarly needs to be protected, but is not a uniform space. And what I mean by that is there's lots of different frameworks and development environments that are made for mobile that don't exist in the web world. So when web application firewall vendors go to protect the mobile client, it's a bigger challenge for them, right? They need to be able to, and the way they solve that is they give mobile developers a software development kit or an SDK, and that SDK needs to be added to the mobile app, and then will help basically bridge the connection from the mobile app world to the web application firewall world. We'll make those two worlds work together. The
If you had
challenge,
if you had to give a guess about how many people are sort of like doing this right, a percentage of the community that should be doing it, what percentage of the community you think is doing that right now, protecting their
so
apps at that level?
let's just use the 80-20 rule, right? So
Okay.
when it comes to web traffic, it's probably 80%, and when it comes to mobile, it's about 20%,
Okay.
right? So there's and the challenge is that those software development kits really fail to meet the true requirements of mobile. Not to get too technical dorky on you, but within those software development kits, oftentimes they need to specify the development environment. Now, if I've developed my app in React Native and it only works with Cordova, that means I need to rewrite my app to make it work with this little trinket down here, or I need to rewrite the network stack. So these technical complexities are really what we set out to solve by eliminating those technical barriers, and then making sure that a solution for mobile works with any web application firewall in the market. So we're trying to help the mobile world bring better security for mobile bot protection, and work with every great web application firewall that's out there. And I think that's what it does is it advances the state of art of mobile security, and it also gives a great opportunity for the reseller, the channel community, candidly. So resellers and MSSPs.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all using mobile apps like that's crazy, right? I mean, how many do you have in your phone? And the reality is these things are being used all the time, right? And if you would sort of make an assumption that when they spin up an app that they've gone through the homework of making it secure, you just sort of instinctively assume that, right? But it all depends, right? What is your how big of a problem is it today with hackers getting into these types of systems? Is it something that's growing? Is it already there? Is it bigger than we think? What is it?
It's there. It's probably bigger than we think because we just can't see the dark side of the moon.
Mm,
And consumers care. So one of the things that we do here at AppDome is we do an annual survey of 25,000 consumers around the world. We've done this survey for 3 years in a row, and I'm just riffing off of something that you said a couple of minutes ago, which is most consumers think that developers don't care about mobile app security.
mm,
Now, meanwhile, if you were to survey consumers and say, what do you want more of? Do you want more of product features or do you want more security? The majority of consumers in the US say more security. And what are they afraid of? Fraud. Fraud is, the superset of bot defense, right? So amazing, and the reason I say it with kind of a quizzical look on my face is that it's not great that consumers have to be concerned about mobile app security, right?
mm.
The industry has generally relied upon consumers to solve these problems themselves.
Mhm.
And candidly, the technology has just outstripped the ability for the consumers to protect themselves. And it's really up to the mobile brands.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
at the end of the day, right, the consumer could say, yeah, I mean, they're concerned, as everybody should, by the way, about security.
right.
But this falls right in the laps of the development and the app developers, right? Because I mean, I don't understand the reasoning behind putting out an app that is sort of vulnerable. It's like what? It's like let's sell cars without seatbelts for a couple of
Right.
years, or this
Right.
particular
Let's see how
model.
that goes.
Yeah, let's see how
Yeah.
that works, right? That's not going to work. Insurance companies going to lay down, and regulations is going to come in there. So yeah, just do the right thing. So basically, from what I'm hearing here, Chris, that you sort of offer these developers a simple way to lock this down, as opposed to having to jump through 1,400, hoops, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yes. That is a perfect assessment of what we do. We work with all these different development frameworks and unique mobile environments, and we can then take the data that we see in terms of what's happening on the app and then provide that to the web application firewall so that the web application firewall can do its job, and that is to either allow that session to continue or go ahead and stop that session and present a message that says, you're on an insecure device and we can't log into that service.
There you go. Well, we brought the solution a little bit midstream. So there you go. There is an answer to this problem that we're talking about.
Right.
Well, let's jump over again and sort of like double click on it a little bit. So, bots, right? Bots is a terrible thing. That's what a lot of hackers are doing. They can do this automatically, right? So it's not like a human having to do, you got to hit 100 stores today or 100 people. The bots can do thousands upon thousands automatically, right?
Right.
And that's the fear, is that we're allowing, no, it's happening, that the bad actors is able to do a lot more, exponentially a lot more, automatedly, right? And that's the problem. That's the big fear. Just the amount of people or attacks coming to you is just extreme. So when these bots are there and people are even getting these bots on their devices, right? What's going on right now with stuff coming to our mobile phones that we should be leery about? Like, for example, when someone makes a charge in your credit card, you get a little link that says, did you make this credit card charge, yes or no? Right? Or did you deliver this? Did your package delivered, yes or no? We're getting these things constantly now to our mobile devices. What is the problem, and should we be afraid of clicking?
Well, the short answer is it's a longer answer. So first things first, you need to make sure that you're getting mobile apps from a valid app store. Now, I don't mean to go all the way back to ground zero, but it is actually important because, particularly in the Android world, where app stores proliferate, it is very simple for somebody to clone an app, put it on an alternate store, and then inject malware into that app without the app developer's knowledge, and use it as a platform for doing bad stuff, right?
Wow.
So
Well, wait a second. I mean, so for me, I'm in the Apple world. I only know one place to go to get my app,
right,
but that's not the same for the Android world, right?
that's
So
right.
so yeah, that's interesting comment that I really haven't experienced.
Yeah,
But you know, be careful where you get your apps from, I guess. Is there? I mean,
right.
yeah,
Well, and this is the EU is talking about opening up the Apple App Store as well in the EU. So this I'm not trying to scare people, but it could be a real scenario within the Apple world as well over the course of time.
mm,
But we have security protections in place that basically say only trust an app from the App Store, which whether it's Google Play or Apple
right.
App Store. So that ensures that nobody has actually tampered or changed that, tampered or modified that app in any way since the developer let it go and published it to the App Store. So that's a really kind of
Yeah, for sure.
fundamental piece of advice. The other pieces are you do have to be worried about what you're clicking on, because usually those clicks come in response to a very specific transaction that you've done. So if you haven't done the transaction, you should be not freaking out, but certainly not just immediately clicking on the button.
But hold on, Chris.
But
Sometimes,
with
you know, let's say someone has stolen your card, right? And you receive you know, a thing you've bought $100 someplace, right? Is
Yep,
it you? Yes or no? They're asking me yes or no. So I need to say yes or no. If it's me, yeah, it's me. Yes, that's easy. But do
right.
I say no? It could be.
Well, you have to take a step back to the extent that you can and say, is this from a legitimate source? Because if it's not from a legitimate source, you may be yesing or knowing. I'm sorry, answering yes or answering no to something that will allow a bad actor to be able to understand um, if their attack attempt is working, right? So there are, and there are a number of consumer protections, but I think the big thing here in the headlights is that bad actors are moving well beyond the basics of trying to
Mm,
scam you with a link, right?
mm,
So whether it's and particularly in mobile bot defense, what what the web application firewall vendors have typically done with these software development kits is they've looked for two things. One is the phone jailbroken or rooted, right? Has the human given access to the main operating system, and is the application running on an emulator? An emulator is what you would expect. It's a device farm that's basically set up to emulate an app and understand the workflow so that you can replicate it and launch an attack. What we've again with our solution, we've kind of simplified the integration piece to be able to work with any environment, but also we look for right now 40 different attack vectors, and then provide all of that information to the web application firewall. So whether it's again it's a compromised app because it's not available from a store, is there auto clicking happening? All these other pieces of telemetry data, we can feed all of that into the web application firewall and make the web application firewall that much smarter in terms of knowing what's legitimate traffic between and what's bad traffic.
so
One of
interesting.
the
Yeah, go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just going to say one of the other basics is what we call rate limiting,
Hmm.
right? And with rate limiting is it's the number of times that you're logging into the device over a specified amount of time, right? So what the bot attacks will do is they'll try to log in as frequently as possible, right?
Hmm.
Do it 15 times every 10 seconds or 15 times every second, whatever that increment is. And so just as simple as being able to say, hey, I'm only going to allow people to log in 2 or 3 times in a minute, whatever that specified time is, really reduces bad actors who are trying to, bang on the system, knock at the door repeatedly to get in. So there's some basic, in our world, there are some basic protections as well as the advanced telemetry that give a really good view of how to protect, how mobile brands can protect themselves from these types of attacks.
I mean, I think it's just getting some education, but what the parameters are, right? I mean, these are all common sense things, right? And I think maybe just with the common sense things alone, you might be able to remove 80% of the problem, right? And the other 20% is probably more sophisticated that if you tried really hard, you might or might not, be able to protect yourself. But with tools like what you guys are producing, again, it just makes it like there's not an excuse anymore, right? It should be protected because, I mean, I don't want to get into the intricacies, but once you get into a system, you can go deep, far and wide. And these days it's they're quiet as well. They're going stealth. So it's important stuff for sure. On the bigger aspect of mobile and all the things we're doing with mobile devices and all the chats and stuff that we're getting as humans, right? We talked last time about, man, there's so many things hitting these humans, right? That at some point you just get tired or you miss a day, you have a bad day, and you're clicking on stuff. And it's an interesting comment we chatted about it. At some point, right, humans just can't be responsible for the whole thing, right? They've got it. They need help, right? What's your take on that?
Well, it's certainly not getting any simpler, right? The level and sophistication of attacks is getting more complicated. What we're seeing are mobile app developers and mobile brands are looking for two different methods. They're looking for different methods to stop attacks and threats. One is our traditional approach, which is to build security capabilities into the app. The other is this mobile bot approach, which says, AppDome, send me the app, the mobile brand, the mobile app developer, the web application firewall owner, send me the telemetry information so I can dynamically decide for myself what I want to do with this particular session or this set of sessions. And so it's been, when we saw the challenge integrating mobile bot SDKs from the web application firewall vendors, we just said, look, this is a perfect space for us to step into, provide more value, right, in a complementary fashion. Again, we're not trying to compete against the web application firewall providers. They have awesome products, and I think each of them would say, on the mobile SDK side, we're not so great. Right? So what we said is, hey, we'll do something. We'll do something really great, and we'll work with you. Right?
Yeah.
And not to get too salesy, but if I'm a channel partner and I'm trying to get into the mobile app development space, which is a hard nut to crack, candidly, all I have to do is go back and talk to the owner of the web application firewall, because billions and billions and billions of dollars have been sold in web application firewalls. So it creates this really complementary upsell cross-sell motion where they can go back to the web application firewall owner and ask the basic question: hey, how much traffic is now coming from the mobile channel versus web? As sure as I'm sitting here, every brand will answer more than 50%. And this shift has happened over the last 3 years, right? And then you can say, well, what are you doing to protect mobile apps specifically? And they're going to say, well, we have a SDK, but really nobody likes it because it's really hard to use. And translation, they're doing nothing.
That's a great tip.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead.
And so from there, it's well, let's do something about that, right? Let's do it in a way that works with the dev team. Hey, can you get me in front of the dev team? And I've got a solution that I'd love to show you, right? And that's a great way to leverage the installed base, the great work that MSSPs and channels have done to install this technology, and to really breathe new life into the web application firewall, because it's going to have this new use case, which over the course of time is just going to become more and more mission critical.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great way to piggyback on what's already there.
Yeah.
You're doing two things. A, you're solving a big problem, right? And B,
right.
you're making some money at the same time. So it's really cool.
Small detail.
Yeah,
exactly. Small detail on the money part. But
there you go. Exactly. So the problem exists. Mobile is going to become, obviously more and more. It's not going to get less, I believe. I think people are just doing that even more. So eventually, that's going to become a massive problem. And now is a good time to probably curb that before it gets out of hand. Chris, I'm gonna leave you with the last word. What do you want everybody to know? What advice would you give everybody? And then how do they reach you? And
yeah, so no, that's great, and thanks for that. I think the bumper sticker message is that if I'm an MSSP or a channel partner that's not focused on getting into the consumer facing mobile app business, you need to be there, because this is the main transaction vehicle for the future for every mobile brand out on the planet. And the easiest way to get there is leveraging something you've already done. And so that was, from a solving a problem perspective, this mobile bot approach, and going back and saying, hey, what are you doing with that web application firewall, is really a simple, it's a simple technology motion, right? It's not all about the sales, but it is a simple sales motion, right? And it's super complementary to all the work that they've done before. So that's the AppDome partner benefit, right? Which is we can help you can go into your customers and we can help solve a new use case. So AppDome's here to help, right? AppDome.com, and fill out a form and we'll talk to you.
There you go. Well, there you have it. So, I mean, folks, it seems to me a very simple way to kind of get into the app game. And, you might not even care about apps. You might not even sell apps. You might not even develop apps, right? But you could certainly secure apps. And as an MSSP's job is about security around the entire organization. And when you bring these opportunities or challenges so they can see, hey, there's a cybersecurity risk here. This is what your customers need, because your job is to protect your customers, show them how to protect them, and make sure they can make that wise decision with the right information. Chris, keep us posted as things are coming along. Always a pleasure.
Awesome.
Again, it's appdome.com. Cheers.